won't make the noise. Oh, there we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Drexel Freethought Society Weekly Podcast. If those of you who saw the first part of the show, we were graced with the magnificent presence of one Hugh Chat from Morales. And we were able to... What?
Not two Hugh Chat Morales.
Only one.
But...
And it was fantastic. We learned a great deal about ethical culture. We learned about the Ethical Society of Philadelphia, and I guess by extension the Ethical Society of Baltimore. But now, this part of the show, as always, is dedicated to you guys. Anyone who feels like asking questions, calling in, or talking or whatever is free to do so at any time. To do so at any time, all you need to do is join us on Facebook, join the Spreaker chat. You can also email us at drexfreethought@gmail.com, or you can call us on our Skype account. I got Facebook stuck in my head for like a fraction of a second.
You love Facebook.
At Drexel Freethought, all one word. We'll add you immediately. You can go on the air. But anyway, since we had a speaker, we weren't able to do our normal spiel that we do on these shows. So, Colleen, take us away with the news.
All right, stuff happened this week. So if you're Dante, if you're familiar with British comedy, then you know of Jones and Pippa Evans, or maybe you don't. But what they're doing in Los Angeles is no joke. They've created something called the Sunday Assembly. Now, I bet you're going, church. No, it's not. It's an atheistic mega church. Now, mega church
I read about this.
Yeah. Mega church is a bit of a relational term, since, you got a gathering of 4, that's normal. Then you have like 8, and that's double. Whoa! So, yeah, atheist mega church. Their goal is to meet like-minded people, engage in community, and to make atheists more visible. What a noble goal. Now, on to another illustrious gathering, the Supreme Court. So, once upon a time...
I disagree with your description. Continue.
Still good work.
Once upon a time, there were a bunch of justices arguing a case. Justice Scalia says, what is the equivalent of prayer for someone who is not religious? Now, the lawyer arguing his case was kind of lost for words. So, Justice Breyer says, perhaps he's asking me that question, and I can answer it later. So everyone's going, ooh, is Breyer an atheist? Oh my goodness. He hasn't said anything one way or another. He might say it in later months. We might have news say, hey, the first atheist justice to actually say he's an atheist. Because no avowed atheist or non-theist have been appointed to the Supreme Court.
On that particular news bite, I just find kind of silly. Like, what really should be happening is someone's religion shouldn't at all matter. For or lack thereof. Oh, I'm sorry, continue.
That actually brings us to our next news story.
Oh my, it's like we planned this.
Awesome.
We actually didn't. Colleen, go ahead.
The Pew Society does polls and stuff and asks people random questions, and once upon a time they asked people, would you elect an atheist blank? Now, 36% said, yes, I would not, no, I would not want an atheist Supreme Court justice. Beliefs are important when the president is considering the candidates. 45% say that it is not important. They agree with David.
I win.
35% of Americans would elect a well-qualified Congress member with party support if they were an atheist, and 30% would elect a president that is the same.
Okay, so when was that one done?
Well, I don't remember. Someday.
I imagine recently. Because
yeah.
the old ones were
they're kind of pathetic.
Yeah, the old ones were like, we would like hire a pedophile before we'd hire an atheist.
Yeah.
We would we trust terrorists more than atheists.
I don't think it said that.
Yes, it did.
David is quite pissed off about this, if you haven't noticed.
It's that's how hated atheists were. The fact that this is even in past the teens as far as percentages is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Now we have 2 happy pieces of news. So a study was done in 2012, researched a lot of churches in the United States. They found that 1/2 of all houses of worship in the United States allow LGBT members. Notice there's no T on the end. Because either it wasn't studied or it wasn't good. So, support the transgender people in your life. And 1/3 of churches allow LGBT leadership, voluntary leadership roles. Things like an usher or a Sunday school leader. So that's good progress. They also found that use of technology is rising, and so is non-traditional forms of worship, such as dance or written word. Well, like poetry.
I don't know anyone who's transgendered.
I do.
No one.
Several, actually.
Really?
No, about
Yeah.
2 people.
One of them is like so crazy convincing. The only reason I know that, like, I'm going to use the terminology or whatever. The only reason I know that was a he, or that
She was a he?
I just said I'm going to use the right terminology and I screwed up. I'm notoriously bad at this.
Good job, David.
I'm sorry. But the only reason I know the person's like birth gender is because I knew them beforehand.
Same here.
So it's that convincing. So like, well done.
Is she pretty?
Honestly, yeah. Like,
That's
like
Now, would
probably,
you date her?
well, in a committed relationship. So I don't think she'd go for that.
But if she was free, would you date her?
My friend's so convincing you wouldn't.
Nah, we don't have too much in common. We're more friends.
Okay, that's fair.
I prefer
Anyway,
a cis-
my personal relationships with people are not on trial here.
Anyway, and this happy story takes place at Northwestern Christian University, which is the name of the university. They are Christian.
Cool.
And they're in the north.
Really?
Oh, I think I know this story.
Eric Fromm was an atheist student, but he's also the president of the Christian Club, and everyone's kind of okay with that. He came out as an atheist by writing a story in the school newspaper, and he's like, "Hey, I don't believe in God. Oh, by the way, come to the Christian Club, yay!" And everyone in the school hierarchy, they're okay with it. It's like, "Hey, he's a good guy. We love him. We prefer he be Christian, but we are going to meet him where he is and allow him to keep his post. And you know what? We're totally cool with him. So, yay, acceptance."
It's like all you Christian organizations should take a lesson from this and let an atheist be the leader of your group. I
Makes
promise
sense.
it'll make the group way better.
But be sure they're nice.
That actually doesn't really make that much sense to me. But
Why do I have a
No, an
feeling something
atheist
else?
reading the Bible is way more fun than a Christian reading it.
well,
Maybe they'll pick out that one about donkey ejaculating.
The profanity. We're on the air.
You bring it up at every podcast.
Yeah,
I
you
bring
do.
up nothing.
I always bring up the bear part.
Bears. Folly. And that's the news for this week. Hopefully next week it will be just as interesting. So go out and do stuff.
Hooray!
are you
Careful,
sure
'cause
you
people
don't want to
take
get
that
into
literally.
journalism? It would be pretty funny.
I was gonna stick with my major, but thank you. I did.
You can double major.
Yay!
Yeah.
I blame
And
Cassie for all
Jonas
this.
Yay!
Anyway, so now that we got our news pieces out of the way,
Talk to us.
yeah, talk to us, Internet. We want to hear from you. We're lonely. We're atheists, so we have no love.
Oh, we have an email. Just kidding, it's from Spreaker. How disappointing.
Richard's
Aw.
not an atheist.
We have another
How-
Spreaker email.
What?
I said Richard's
Hey,
not
God
an
to talk
atheist.
to.
I'm
I
an
know.
atheist.
We're being listened to
I'm
by
a
6 people.
potato.
We should have 6 people calling our
Me
Skype.
too.
Yeah, guys, all 6 of you should be calling us actively right now.
Do it! Do
At the
it!
same time.
We
But
will.
actually, quite honestly, we would love to hear what you guys have to say. Do you have any comments on the atheism in news? Do you guys want to ask us any specific questions? Do you have any questions on the ethical humanism portion of the show that was on earlier?
Technically, I'm not an
Anytime.
atheist. I think the nostalgia critic is God.
Thank you, Dante.
You're welcome.
Dante, you showed up late to the show, so do you have any questions about ethical humanism?
Oh, sure.
happened?
I'll ask another one. Let me see. Ask like 2 questions.
I belong to the Church of Santa Christ. Santa Christ, Santa Christ, we all love Santa Christ.
See,
That
now
was my incredibly loud gavel to restore order.
I lost my
What
train
the
of thought
hell?
because of that.
What?
I was Santa Christ.
What the hell?
Dante, questions?
Yes. Let me get my train of thought back because of Santa Christ.
He atoned for all your sins, but he also likes
Is it
Stop it. Alright,
Alright.
let me patch into my brain.
This is what happens when you don't talk to us, audience. Izzy starts singing random songs. You don't want that to
Stop
happen.
it! Let me think. Humanism. Okay.
Is anyone interested?
Alright, here we go. How about I ask a question for the audience? What is the difference between being a humanist and a humanitarian?
Whoa, that's eerie. Alright, let's see if we can dissect this. The whole idea of the ethical humanism movement is to kind of build connections between people, as Hugh was talking about. It was build a network of relationships, creed before creed, try to represent the importance of every individual.
Okay.
And you do that by meeting people, by working with others, by showing that people are actually valuable with your actions. It seems like humanitarian has a lot more to do with, like, projects for people. I think it might actually be a I think humanitarianism would simultaneously be like an umbrella in which ethical humanism falls into, but at the same time, if you're an ethical humanist, you can also engage in humanitarian actions.
So the humanism is the bigger blanket, and humanitarianism kind of falls into that, right?
I think simultaneously it's both.
Oh, okay. So
you can be a humanitarian and then also be an ethical humanist, or vice versa.
So they are definitely not mutually exclusive, but they don't precede one another either.
Nah, I don't think you can get to one. I think you can get to humanitarianism from ethical humanism, but I don't think you can do it the other way.
Interesting.
Because humanitarian is kind of like be nice to people. You can be nice to people, but still not really do anything useful to help anyone.
That's true. I mean, you can help somebody pass the last level of Super Mario Brothers.
Hey, I said something not helpful.
Oh.
That last level's annoying.
Yeah, it is. That's true.
But I mean, when it comes to, like, there's a difference between, like, I'm just going to act kindly to my neighbor, and I'm going to go over and help them mow their lawn.
So one is more based on actually saying.
Yeah, I think humanitarian is much more to do with interactions as opposed to actions.
Okay.
Interaction.
You see, I used words that sound similar because I'm clever.
What was that for? You just sound like you buzzed like a patient. Okay.
Man.
I think that was a pretty good explanation.
Thank you. I thought so too.
Does anybody else have any input about it?
You see, here's the conflict that I had with ethical humanism that is totally fine. Like, I don't run the organization, I wouldn't want to change it anyway because I think it's being run beautifully. It's the idea that they don't, like, outright say, we're atheistic, get over here, guys. Like, I've always been curious, like, why they don't do that.
Maybe not all of them are atheists.
I think the term atheist kind of turns away people who don't want to identify. Like, my mom won't identify as atheist.
But that just seems so dumb because it means the same thing as what the people are saying.
That's not the point, though. I mean, what he was saying was that they were non-theistic. That means that they don't really care. What they care about
that is an important
that
distinction.
They want to get things done. They do not care if you're, Christian or atheist or whatever. What matters is getting the important stuff. Not the
connections.
the non-important stuff.
Precisely.
Well, maybe Christianity versus atheism is important in some obscure manner.
Well,
but right now,
I'll flat out say I think one of the most important endeavors we have in our lifetime is to eradicate religion.
see that's
Do you
the
think
thing.
that's ever gonna fully
Humanism, secular
Possibly.
humanism has nothing to
Possibly.
do with that. Secular
No, and I
humanism
totally
has-
agree. That's why I'm both a firebrand atheist and an ethical humanist.
Well, why do you? I mean, obviously, you've gone through many different various reasons why you believe that way. But like, why do you think it's so such an important part to eradicate just religions altogether?
Because it does harm.
Yes, but like,
No, that's it.
okay.
But cars can do harm too.
Yes, there is a lot of things that do harm in the world, but one thing that I think does the most harm of one single entity is non-personalized religion.
Well, wouldn't you say that? Wouldn't you say that the most important?
I saw a quizzical look from Izzy. I mean that to mean it's totally fine if you believe in a higher power. It's
Okay.
totally fine if you believe that if you flex your arms, you can control the wind. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
If that helps you in your life and it makes you happy, then I would encourage skepticism because I think that also leads to happiness as well as other things. But if it makes you happy and it helps you in your life, then do it.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't hurt anybody.
Okay. So what
But
would
that
be
no,
the
that's
opposite?
the
What
but that's
would
the
be
no. But the last thing I said is the qualifier. As long as it doesn't hurt anybody.
Okay.
So you're worried
And
about the intrusion.
what I'm seeing religion do is it is a prime harm in the world.
See, isn't the most important part of this whole thing not religion in itself, but the separatism that it infuses within our society, like the tribalism that it infuses within our society.
Anything will do that.
You know, and that's exactly it. I mean, what's the difference?
I completely.
Yeah.
That is definitely a component, and what we really have to do is not get rid of our tribalism, because I think it is actually an important thing, but broaden it.
Yeah,
that we are living creatures, so we should be akin with all the other living creatures.
And that goes back to ethical humanism. Ethical humanism is not necessarily saying there's no God, even though the majority of people...
this is the idea. I don't think the tribalism aspect is the big issue. I think the big issue is the belief of things without evidence.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think that's the thing that causes harm.
I agree with that, but at the same time, it's more like, you can't stop people from believing in ridiculous beliefs.
No, I'm not trying to. I'm saying you shouldn't force it on others.
Oh yeah, well, okay, then I agree with you.
Yeah, he's worried about the fact that...
No, I'm totally fine. Like, I probably have an incredibly inflated opinion of myself.
No,
probably.
well, I have.
But I am far too awesome to think that all the time. No, the idea is I definitely I can basically guarantee I have some ridiculous beliefs.
I mean, basically, the whole entire point is to question your beliefs that might be unsubstantiated instead of
even
just
the substantiated ones. Question them.
Okay, well, yeah, then I agree. With that
I think I'm good at math. I should prove it.
Yeah,
I'm not good at math.
So when you say don't push it, let me give you two different scenarios. And so if someone's standing on the corner handing out pamphlets saying, believe in God or whatever.
Like early this morning?
Okay, I didn't see the
guy
person.
screaming.
Okay.
How do you never call me when you find these people?
He's there all the time.
Hey, David, guess what I found?
I'll text you. Go ahead.
But if someone's standing on the corner shouting at people, such as in front of the table, you do have a problem. Is that?
Yes, it's the handing out pamphlets is definitely better, but at the same time, it's inviting conversation, and I see the beliefs themselves as harmful, so I will engage them in conversation in hopes that they will analyze their ideas, but.
Man.
That's not going to bring the voice to the
even if that person definitely doesn't, people listening do.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I've had way too many people come up to me and say thank you for having that conversation with that person because I wasn't brave enough to do it myself. So that's why I do that. That's why I get into all those stupid arguments on Facebook. Because other people tell me thank you for doing that.
Well, I think.
What if no one thanked you?
Then I would stop because it's freaking exhausting.
Well, I think that's the best thing because a lot of people, like me, Gary, a lot of people on the cynic stand actually, they put forth opinions that other people might not agree with, but the entire reason is to stimulate conversation in order to figure out what the right, quote unquote, right thing and the quote unquote wrong thing is.
Well, there's a reason I don't come to cynic stand very often. Because the people don't, a lot of people on that site don't care about information.
And me as the owner of the Cynics Den, I actually agree.
Anyway,
I care about
I
information.
posted, I think, one thing there, and it was the thing about the guy who I had the conversation with, and he was all like, homosexuality is evil. It's like
it's both the beauty and the curse of the Cynics Den. For those of you who don't know, it's a group I have on Facebook where people just basically talk about the most controversial things. There are some free thought components to it, but you can also tell when people are biased. That does exist. But yeah, once in a while, it doesn't matter where you go. I'm pretty sure even in the ethical humanist society, you might find that one person who he goes against what everybody else says, and you know what?
Actually,
That's
I
cool.
know who that is. I talked to him.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And
Every group has their crazies.
and you know what? That's fine to a degree. You know, to disagree, that's fine. But it's like if you don't support your ideas, you just come out and blurt them and say this is right because I know it's right. Well, then it's like, well, dude, or ma'am, or whoever you are, can you please explain this? You know, some people are very, very stuck on these biases.
Sure.
Depending on what the topic is. You know,
But this in line is kind of the issue. I have 23 updates on this tablet. I
That's
should
awesome.
do that. Anyway,
You need to play Cookie Clicker.
I don't have to do anything.
That's fun.
This implies a lot of things with ethical humanism. Is the idea that we need to demonstrate things instead of actually, like, a lot of people don't care and they'll just kind of present an idea and then just like, have at it, you angry goblins. But I think what's way more important is to go like, this is the idea that I have to help people, I'm going to try to do it.
so you basically just like the sayers and doers instead of just the sayers.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Or not even like, I would also congratulate the fighters that are just like, even like I'm going to go back to Facebook conversations, even though I know they are not quite the pinnacle of academic discourse. But what I like people that stay and have the conversations and actually defend the things that they think, even if I think they're wrong. If they actually fight and defend it, that's great.
That's why you and Tammy are awesome.
No, I'm good with Tammy now. No, this is the problem though, is a lot of people will refuse to actually fight, but then claim persecution.
That's true.
Christians.
The idea is just like, I showed up for this argument, I disagree with what you say, therefore you're a bad person for attacking me.
Here's okay. Can I
Yes.
bring up the post I did again?
Yeah, sure.
Because-
Refresh my memory. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've been on
Well,
it
because
tonight.
basically what happened for those was in real life. I
Well, before you say in real life, is this something you want the internet to know about?
yeah, it's fine. I posted this on.
Don't worry,
Snapchat.
somebody in the
Okay.
deck already spared it.
So basically what happened was I got a free ticket for, it was like a free pass for you and a guest to see this movie called Blue is the Warmest Color.
Mm.
And I was having a lot of difficulty finding someone to see it with because it was on a Tuesday night. It was for 3 hours and it was in French. And I didn't want to go by myself because at the time I didn't have a cell phone and I didn't want to go into Center City by myself without a cell phone. So at night. So so I go into my apartment and one of my roommates has a friend over, and I didn't even really know the friend that well. I mean, he had been to our apartment maybe once or twice, and I should say that Blue and the Warmest Color is about a lesbian couple.
Okay.
And
Oh, man.
and so I said something like, "Hey, do you want to go see this movie with me?" You know, I was totally joking. And he said something, he's like, "Oh no, I'm not a lesbian person." And I'm like, "What do you mean you're not a lesbian person?" He's like, I don't agree with it." And I'm like,
Well, good,
I'm
'cause you're a dude.
Yeah, and I was just like,
It
might wanna date you anyway.
It'd be kind of confusing for a man
well,
to be a
and
lesbian.
I'm like, "Are you homophobic?" And he's like, "No, I'm not homophobic. I'm not afraid of them."
It's like I'm not afraid of them. I'm just incredibly nervous while talking about them.
I just don't like what they do. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm like, so like, would you like?
It's like, so you
not
don't
be-
like porn without penises. I'm confused with what you're saying.
So I was just like,
Because that might mean something else there.
so he was just like, what was he saying? He was just like, well, I just don't. I was like, so if you had like a gay friend, would you just like not? Would you just like not be friends? He's like, well, I mean, I'll hang out with gay people. He's like, just like I might hang out with thieves or liars. He's like, I just don't agree with what they do. I was like, and here's the thing: one of my roommates is gay, so like, you know, like
It doesn't even matter if you've never met a gay person.
Yeah,
you should still.
Yeah, and like so I'm just.
That's not even a thing that should be an issue.
So and the thing is, my roommate's like semi-defending him, like in a way. She's like, well, it's also rated NC-17. I mean, who wants to see that? Like, you know, like all the like. Okay, maybe some people don't like
NC-17. How old are they? 12.
Okay, this friend won't watch anything that this other roommate won't watch anything that is rated R.
Well, he's gonna have a hard time screwing his wife. She's gonna have a hard time screwing her husband. That's definitely not.
She's asexual.
Oh, okay, then she doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Never mind, I just killed that joke.
If more people were asexual, this world would be a better place.
Anyway.
So, like, you know, it's just, I was so upset, like, I literally had to walk out of the room. Because I was just so...
Why does no one call me when these things happen? I would have descended from the ceiling.
I was so upset about it. So
I would have dived through a window from an adjoining building.
I literally go to my room and I post about this on the Cynic Den because I'm so pissed off.
All right, let me just make a record. Any of these things happen, call me.
Yeah, he will stop his exam just to go.
I will stop whatever I'm doing.
And I post about this on the Cynic Den, and some of the people were with me, and they said, you know, that doesn't really... But some of the people, like, they're like, well, that's just, you know, it sounds like you're pushing your beliefs on him. Like, you know, maybe he's just like, you know, he's just like not comfortable. Like,
let me make this very
clear.
But
the person's like, well, I'm not homophobic, but I'm not comfortable watching a lesbian movie.
No, okay.
Like,
so purely from that statement... Fine. Like, you don't need, like, okay, so from purely that statement, that's fine. Like, if you're just uncomfortable, like, if you are personally uncomfortable seeing, like, men or women kiss each other, then whatever.
Okay.
You're allowed to be personally uncomfortable by whatever you want.
Okay.
If you're just uncomfortable by watching kissing in general, like, would that have offended you?
No.
Like, would you have been angry if someone said, oh, I'm really uncomfortable around sexual situations? Then everyone would just be like, oh, then, like, no one would care.
And that is my roommate, you know, because she is asexual and she's kind of like, she doesn't
No,
like...
but at the same time, that isn't what he meant.
Yeah, oh, I know.
Because
I know
he compared being homosexual to being a thief or a liar.
Uh-huh.
And so he said, oh, I'm not homophobic, I'm not afraid of gay people, but I'm not...
I don't like what they do.
Well, it also depends on the context.
So
I just try to use biblical morals.
So he's not homophobic.
He said something like that, yeah.
So he's not homophobic, he just doesn't have a brain stem.
I mean, like, here's the thing, like... I don't want this guy in my apartment anymore. Like, I don't want him to visit. Like, I don't want, like, him anywhere. And so it's like, I've run into him a couple times, and he'll say hi to me, and I, like, don't want to say hi back.
You don't have to.
Like,
you can look him in the face and say, you're a terrible
like,
person.
I'm just like...
So he based his opinion not necessarily because it's not something he's used to seeing. Like, for example, like say if I've grown up mostly around heterosexual people, I've never seen two girls or two guys together before, and I'm like 40 years old, and for the first time ever, I see two women kissing. Yeah, it's probably gonna freak me out because it's like, whoa, wait, I'm used to guys and girls. This doesn't make
right.
You know, but I don't hate them. I don't understand it.
No,
it's weird to me. But if I'm basing it off of because the book said that that's wrong, then I could definitely fault him for that. Now I would assume that he was going off the book and not because he hasn't experienced lesbian.
No, you see, I think it's the opposite. I think the Bible is almost always used as justification for your own discomfort or your own prejudices.
So it bolsters it. It's like I don't feel uncomfortable when they read the book.
It justifies it. It's saying I am uncomfortable with this situation, and this book says it's okay.
Yeah, it's like your justification. It's justification.
Yeah, I don't have to change because this book supports my prejudices.
Well,
one second. This is a pet peeve of mine. Let's make this very clear. If you do not accept somebody just for the sole purpose that they happen to be attracted to the same sex, then you are not a good person.
Boo.
It doesn't make sense. It is only based off your own personal prejudices. You do not get to force this on other people. You do not get to pretend that it's moral. You are wrong, and you should feel wrong.
I'm going to go a little bit lenient on these people. I'm going to say, you're not a bad person. You just don't have a stem that goes into your brain. So you're not actually able to think.
No. But now that I say that, the ethical humanism sparks up. Although you definitely have made some mistakes in your thinking, there is hope for you.
You're redeemable.
Yes. You need to just recognize that this is a problem, that this is something that you need to fix, and that there is nothing wrong at all with somebody that happens to love some kind of thing that you do not. So you can fix this, and you need to fix this to catch up with the rest of us.
Yay!
Well,
You don't need
Bravo!
to be gay. You don't have to watch game porn and be like, "Damn, Skippy, that's so cool."
Oh yeah, and here's the
Nice.
This is the moronic thing about it. It's just like, oh, if we allow gay marriage, everyone's going to get gay married. It's just like, what is wrong with you?
No, I'm not attracted to women. Like,
it's like,
It would be a very unhappy marriage.
I actually have to say something else. I said something actually really off kilter. That I think really the main thing is that person that came into your dormitory,
our apartment. But
okay, your apartment. He just was raised a certain way where he was taught to believe something,
right.
And that's not necessarily his fault.
Right. I mean, it's hard to fight against that. I totally get that. I totally get that.
I mean, of course, after a while, you get set in your ways and you start believing these things, and of course, it happens in many different ways. You can you can be racist for this issue, or you can be self-depreciating and hating yourself because you were born, you're raised a certain way within your family. But it doesn't automatically make it your fault. It actually doesn't make it your fault at all that you're raised to believe some way.
But just because you were raised that way doesn't mean you can't change your past.
But what you really should do is that you should always try to question the way that you were raised.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's really where it comes all down to. It comes all down to trying to figure out the faults in your parents, because nobody's perfect raising their own children. And that's where you have to better yourself to become a better person and understand that there isn't anything wrong with people being of a certain sexual persuasion, or there isn't anything wrong with people being transgendered or black or Mexican or white or whatever.
I mean, I'll be
being gay, exactly like being black or Mexican.
I'll be totally,
Thank you, Richard.
I'll be totally honest with you here, and I don't tell a ton of people this, but when I was little,
Well, now you're going to tell the entire internet.
Hi, people. When I first found out about, gay people when I was, I want to say 3rd grade, 4th grade, I was kind of like, ew, that's kind of weird. But like...
No, but that's fine.
But I grew out of that. That's very childish.
No, this is something that I brought up on the show like 4 or 5 times. But when I was younger, I was not around many black people.
Yeah.
Just at all. And the only people I was in contact with were like some family, from friends of the family occasionally, but for the most part, no, white suburbia. So when I started going to middle school and high school, I was around a lot more people of color.
We stared at you.
They all did in unison. No, but I did have some uneasiness, but it was just because it was different. Like if I suddenly was like, oh, we're moving to France, I'll probably still be surrounded by mostly white people, but I still would feel extremely out of place, and it would be very weird.
Most people
So and to note, I got over it.
And
it's not hard.
And that's the thing. There's a difference between homophobia or racism and generally just being around a certain group of people that you've never been around in the first place, because nobody is born racist. Nobody is born racist. They can feel uneasy around certain groups of people.
Yeah, and I think it's the reaction you have to that determines whether or not you're racist, honestly.
If you're racist, if you're going to be racist, you're going to go out and you're just going to say, oh, these types of people are bad because of their color of skin. If you're just a human being and you just come across these people that you've never seen before, you might feel a little bit uneasy, but you will know in your head, well, there's actually nothing wrong.
I feel like there's
let's try to get past this.
Like, I know so many stories about like little like white kids, like the first time they ever see like a blackbird. Like my cousin apparently, like she was at the grocery store with her dad, and apparently she saw this black woman, and she's like, you need to wash your face more often. It's really dirty.
That's just awful.
But I mean, that's.
No, but do you know what? Like it's amusing, but it's a reasonable explanation for a very young child to come to. But do you know how easy it is to explain? It's like, oh no, dear, that's just the color of her skin. Yeah. And then it's just like, oh.
Yeah.
And then they're done, and then they move on.
Precisely. Well, that reminds me. I watched this thing one time about this. There's this transgendered girl in the U.S. and her name is Jazz, and she was born a boy, but ever since she was 4, she has been living as a girl. And it was interesting. They said like her official like coming out party or whatever was her 4th birthday, and she chose to wear a one-piece female bathing suit. And she said, and the kids really didn't question it. They said, well, one kid or 2 kids, they're like, oh, well, why is he wearing a bathing suit, or like a girl bathing suit? And they said, well, that's what they wanted to wear today. And they're like, oh, okay, it's like when you're that young, it's very, very easy to.
No, do you know what? It's when you're that young, it's extremely easy, and when you're older, it's also extremely easy. Bigoted people make their lives hard for themselves. Do you know how easy it is to accept somebody for who they are?
Just go, oh, okay.
It's seriously that sentence, and then you're finished.
Just go, oh, okay, and turn around.
Like, as long as the person's characteristics don't like, oh, I'm one of those people that if I don't punch someone in the face, I'm unhappy. Yeah. Then it's like, then no, I'm sorry, you're gonna be unhappy.
Yeah, I like to set buildings on fire.
You're gonna go to jail.
Yeah.
There's 2 major reasons why xenophobia, and I like to put racism, sexism, and all that stuff under xenophobia, why it occurs.
They're all basically the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, it's the same formula. It's just different characteristics
or different magnitudes.
Yeah. Basically, one is that it is ingrained in your head. You're indoctrinated to believe that the black people are evil, the gays are evil, and people who play video games are fat, stupid people who sit down in the basement living off of their mother. Yeah, you have that. Or 2, you if you happen to be on your own for a while, you meet a person of a certain phenotype or appearance or belief and had a very, very, very bad cataclysmic experience with them. Lead you to believe that, oh, I should stay away from those black people. They pulled a gun on me. I should stay away from gay people and try to touch me, or some stuff like that.
Sure.
It's just that it's unfortunate that in your young mind, assuming that you're a young person deal with this, that one incident is what determines your opinion on everything else, and it's up to us as humanists, human beings, whatever, to encourage these people that, hey, I know you had a bad deal with that person who was a different skin color to you, or that person who was a different height to you, or whatever the case may be, but they're not all like that. And show them that there are plenty of people, just like the person you encounter, just doesn't have the same behavior. But yeah, there's a bunch of tall people out there, there's a bunch of black people out there, there's a bunch of gay people out there. And then hopefully reinforce that. With adults, it's just that, again, especially if they're indoctrinated to believe that, person X is bad from these other groups and everything. So it all comes down to communication and education and freaking critical thinking. The one thing we're not taught when we're young: critical thinking and how to manage money. Those are 2 things that I think that our society needs that we are not taught at all.
Well, the money thing is just a societal bit.
Yeah,
my dad still will never speak to me about how much money he makes. He refuses.
Yeah, because you're a thief.
What? Well,
Where'd
I'm an
that
atheist. I'm an atheist.
Yeah, you obviously have no morals.
Yep. I get them from a soup can.
The devil.
I found it under my bed.
Even when we're talking about, I'm not sure if we're still talking about this or not, but when we're talking about prejudices against like certain groups of people and everything else like that, you can look at it psychologically, as Dante brought up, or you can actually look at it historically. And historically wise, it's always been used as a ploy to get power over other people, to get certain people to go against other people,
create the other.
So yeah. And that's what the whole entire thing is, because when you really come down to it, there is no such thing as black or white or gay or lesbian. I mean, they're just attributes to a single person as an individual, and certain groups of people follow that certain persuasion.
This goes into another subject that annoys the hell out of me. It's labeling.
Yes.
It has no meaning.
Well, even further
do that
so with that.
It's like, so Dante, you're black.
I'm brown, actually.
So you're brown. Are you white?
No, I'm
You're
peach.
You're like a peach.
Yeah, it's like I'm off peach or something.
I'm pasty.
I'm pale.
Yeah, so like everything is a continuum of beige. There is no black and white. There's only beige. Melanin is beige colored.
I'm not sure if there's a biological basis for human beings to classify everything. Like, I mean,
there actually is.
It has your brain processes.
Yeah, we are cognitive dualists. We have to see causality in everything.
And it is funny that you say that we create it, because sometimes we create it when nothing is there in the first place, like racism and sexism and everything
No, in
else
those
like
things,
that. But even
in those things there is
furthermore-
something there.
Well,
Like,
yeah, there
we
is
notice
something.
we notice a difference, and then we have to separate them into two very distinct
But
groups.
then we sometimes create it when there's nothing there, like PC liberalism, where you say just, brown bags are racist. Like I heard that. No, I actually heard this. I heard this somewhere that what they did was that they said brown bags are no longer able to be used in some places in Texas because they're racist against black people.
How?
Which doesn't make any sense.
Here's the justification. Time out.
I mean, maybe
They're
there's like
stupid.
maybe
Wait,
there's
Colleen.
a-
Colleen, explain.
Once upon a time, back in segregation, they would use a paper bag to determine if you were black or white. If you were darker than the paper bag, you weren't allowed in. If you were lighter than the paper bag, you were allowed in. Because apparently people, all of a sudden it was like, there was this weird continuum. They're like, oh my god, we need something to tell them apart. So they use a paper bag.
And
Now,
so it was a
Because-
scale.
I
No,
never
because you
did that.
definitely can't make paper bags out of different colors.
yeah, I have a
That's
paper
impossible.
bag.
Wait, so they
It's
chose
like you have a hot pink paper bag.
they chose a random object of a particular shade to be a scale for determining how to
They
segregate.
picked something
Oh,
arbitrary.
now that's just trying to look for trouble.
Exactly. And the really
So you can do that with this.
Exactly. You
gavel.
can do it with a wood table. It doesn't matter.
Oh my goodness,
Oh.
people!
I know. I have a clock right here.
Okay.
I know what time it is, crazy face.
That is ridiculous. My goodness.
If anything.
Alright, do you know what doesn't do all the things that we just discussed? Ethical humanism, which is totally what we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes.
That's awesome.
Us. Well,
No brown paper
yeah,
bags.
we were, because they all had to deal with ethical humanism.
Yep.
And-
Yep, they did.
Yeah,
I was there. I saw it.
I wasn't, but I know.
I know everything.
I just don't understand the point of devaluing a human being based on skin color, based on their height, based on their voice, based on breast size, butt size, hair shape.
Do you know what's fantastic about that?
Is it-
I'm tall. It's like I'm tall, have an awesome voice. I'm white, and I have a great butt and awesome breasts.
What?
So I am everything that is good about what you described, and my hair is fantastic.
You didn't comb it.
I didn't comb
Doesn't
your face
matter.
either.
You're not blonde-haired, blue-eyed. You're not of the master race.
I am blonde-haired and blue-eyed.
Yeah, blonde.
Hitler
brown.
does not like you.
My hair is not brown.
Hitler
It's
does
not
not like
blonde either.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Don't tell me what my hair is.
That's,
you. Hitler does not like you.
Hitler loves me. And on that note,
Godwin's law.
Times I had to break Goblin's law. And also, even if Hitler loved me, I do not like him. And also, he's dead, so I don't care.
Then comes the.
Thank you, everyone.
He
And
might not be dead. He might be alive as a zombie.
thank you, everyone, for listening to the Drexel Freethought Society Weekly Podcast. For those who don't know, the Ethical Humanist Society meets every Sunday at 11 a.m. during the winter and the fall, winter, and spring, I think, on Sundays at Rittenhouse, the south end of Rittenhouse Square. Everyone is invited. It's a wonderful program. I've been there a lot, and we are out of time. Thank you all for joining us. Goodbye.